Hello YouTube, how's everyone doing today? Everyone's doing well. I got back home at like 3 in the morning. I always really like to do a lot of these off-the-cuff videos because I think, in my mind, if I think too much about something, I just kind of ruin the whole zeal I have to making the video. Now, I know you're wondering why you can only see my hands and my face. I'm sorry about that. I just have gone invisible. The Invisible Man. The Invisible Man, the original, is actually a really good watch. But as you can tell by the title of this video, the waterproofness of rough out leather. Now, the only difference between rough out leather and smooth leather is the way that it's facing. Now, if we take a look at, it's hard to see, but on the inside here, it's the same as it is here. This is rough out, this is smooth. You can see the difference in texture with these boots. It just, how the hide is flipped and sewn into place. Yesterday, we were doing a pickup. I had to do a class 1 brake test on the cars to make sure that all the pistons, that all the brakes on the cars, that the brakes are by the pistons coming out and the brake shoes being applied to the cars, to the wheels of the cars. And I was wearing these boots, and a couple people have mentioned that rough out leather is like a sponge. The rough out is like a sponge. I think that some people maybe think that rough out leather is a completely different type of leather than smooth out leather, which is completely false. Like I said, the only difference between the rough out and the smooth is the way it's flipped. That's the only difference. With the leather itself is the way it's flipped. This is Seidel. This is Seidel's work leather that Frank's gets from the tannery Seidel. A good thick leather. These boots have never been conditioned. They've only ever been brushed. Excuse me. These boots have never been conditioned. They've only ever been brushed. And these boots, and this is not necessarily, and it's the same with my Patriots that are smooth out for the uppers and lowers. The vamp and the upper, whatever you want to call it. These only sprung a leak from the fact of water running down my pant legs into the boots. That is how the water got into my boots. The boots did not spring a leak through the sides, through any of the sewings, through any of the seams, through any of the nails, through any of the screws. They did not spring a leak that way. They got wet from the water running down my pant legs into the boots. And I mean, I was out probably for an hour in nothing but drenching rain. I mean, the floodgates were opened up. I was wet. There was no getting around it. I was soaking wet. So it is what it is. In my experience, I've had no difference with rough out leather versus smooth leather when it comes to the waterproofness of the boot. Let's see if I can adjust the camera a little bit to where you can kind of see the boot. Nothing at all. I've experienced no difference in any boots I have worn, including my JKs. I've experienced no difference. There are some people that think there's a difference. And maybe let's say your boot is very dry. Let's say your boot, you've not conditioned your boots in, let's say, a year. You haven't used any form of waxes. Even if you do use saddle soap, there's a little bit of conditioner in saddle soap that will actually kind of help condition your boots. And let's say maybe you've cleaned your boots. You've used the Oben-Offs Clean It, but you've never went back through and reconditioned your boots, put any waxes on them or any type of things like that. Then yeah, whether it's, and maybe the rough out is not being as water protected as the smooth out, just because the looks and the texture and the essence of it in nature. Because there's a smooth surface, water is more than likely just to shear and run off of this, versus the rough out, it's more than likely to, it will run off of it, but it's more than likely to take its time and slowly seep in to the leather. But if you keep your leather conditioned, you keep your leather well, and I'm not going to say saturated, as in just overdoing it, because overdoing it with the conditioner is just as bad as underdoing it. But it's properly saturated. It's very supple, very full. Then you don't have to worry about it. Now I took these off this morning, and they're still damp. I'll probably put these on my Pete's boot dryer. And one other thing that I was thought about saving for another video, but my laces broke. I have another pair of laces, but where this is kind of, where it'll last. So I'm not big on stuff like that. These boots are a prettier type boot. I don't know. Keep getting spam calls like crazy. Where these are not a dress boot for me, these are a work boot, slash a patina boot for me. Now looking back on it, now this is getting into completely part of the other of a different idea. Looking back on it, if I did want a purely patina boot, just a straight patina boot, I wouldn't have gone with the black or the mocha. It's kind of just a me thing on what I like the looks of. So looking back on it, I wouldn't have went that way. I would have still went with the honey Vibram and the natural edge of the heel stack, as well as the midsole. But I would have probably went with like Wicket and Craig, English bridal chestnut or something like that, and maybe a Seidel work leather chocolate, or a walnut, or even the tan Teton color, Teton. But it is what it is. I love these boots. These boots are great. The only knock I have towards the rough out is where I work in a high dust, high metal particle job. These rough outs do really get a lot of that stuck into them. I'm looking at it right now, and I can see the metal particles are kind of shining. But it is what it is. I just got to brush them off every night. I brush them off every other day I work. So, it just depends. And I know a lot of people talk about white stitching, how it looks good at first, but then it turns dark. I like it. I like a nice looking pair of used work boots. So it is what it is. But yeah, if you stuck around this long, personally, I've had no direct experience with rough out being less water repellent than smooth out. Now, granted, these boots are properly conditioned. These have been properly brushed off, so on and so forth. So maybe someone who, like I said, your boots are dry and in need of a conditioning, maybe they are having some issues. Maybe they are having water issues, and that's what I love about these Pacific Northwest style boots. There's no liner, no smell to them. Even after I've walked for over an hour with it just pouring the rain, no smell of these boots. So I'm going to go put these on the Pete's boot dryer and let them dry. Hope everyone has a great day.